So in today's lecture, we'll be discussing about spin precession. What is spin precession? What is precessional motion? And how a net magnetic moment of sample is created when we put the sample inside the magnet. Okay, so let us start discussing with spin precession. Okay, so what do we understand by spin precession? So for that, let us go back to our discussion of angular momentum. So classically, the angular momentum vector may point in any direction in space, right? So I mean, if you have a rotation going on like this, so angular momentum will point in perpendicular direction, right? So this goes by right hand thumb rule. Now angular momentum of a spin, which is shown like this. So angular momentum of a spin is also a vector quantity and may point in any possible direction. So what do I mean by that? So any possible direction means like it can be like this, it can be like this, it can be like this, it can be flat, it can be totally down, totally up, any angle. Okay. So let us call this axis as spin polarization axis. So in some of the NMR books, actually, you will see that it is claimed that quantum mechanics allows only certain direction of spin angular momentum. And for example, for spin half particles, they say that the polarization can either be in up direction or in the down direction, right? So this is for spin half. In some books, it is claimed that this is the case. However, this is not the correct picture. So spin polarization is not necessarily only up and down, and in fact spin polarization can take any random axis, any random direction. So we would say this is not a correct description. And we will see why. So once we take a look at angular momentum operators at that time later in the course, so at that time we will see why this description of spin polarization axis only up and down is not correct. Okay, so this will be clear in angular momentum operator discussion, which will happen later in the course. So for now, just take my words that spin polarization axis can point in any random direction. Okay, so now magnetic moment of a nucleus can point either in same direction as spin polarization axis or in the direction opposite to spin polarization axis. So how does it define which direction it would take? So for example, for nuclei with gamma, which is the gyromagnetic ratio, which we discussed last time a little bit, and we'll be discussing more of it later. For nuclei where gamma is positive, in that case, direction of magnetic moment and spin angular momentum are same. Okay, for nuclei where gamma is negative, direction of mu and s are opposite. How do you define this, or how do you show it pictorially? So you can show pictorially like this. You have s going like this and mu also going like this. Okay, and here you will show like this, that s is like this and your mu is actually opposite. Okay, So in the absence of magnetic field, the distribution of magnetic moments is also completely isotropic. So the way we have drawn spin polarization axis randomly, so magnetic moment, because it takes the direction either with the S or against the S, depending on the gamma. So in the absence of magnetic field, that is external magnetic field which we apply, so we can write external. So I'm just trying to draw a physical picture so that it is easier to understand. So you have magnetic moment all possible random directions, so it points in any random direction. Okay, now if you calculate the vector sum of all of this, vector sum of mu, that is, so you can call it as mu1 plus mu2 plus mu3 plus this. So this vector sum, if you want to calculate, let's say the z component of it, this will be 0. The x component of it, this will be 0. And the y component of it, this will be 0. This happens because you have very large number of spins. So typically, let's say if we are taking a sample of water, let's say if we are using 0.5 ml of H2O sample, so just in this the concentration is 55 molar, or concentration of protons will be 110 molar into so the number of spins will be actually 6.023 into 10 is power 23 into 110, right? So of the order of 10 to the power 25 spins. Now imagine all the random directions, each spin is having random direction of magnetic moment. So if you take a vector sum along any possible direction, like if any z-axis, x-axis, y-axis, it will turn out to be 0. So this means no net magnetic moment of the sample exists, right? So there is no net magnetic moment of the sample in absence of magnetic field because of this random orientation of magnetic moments, individual magnetic moments. Okay, so how a net magnetic moment is generated then? Okay, so let us say that you apply magnetic field. So on application of external magnetic field, so later on we'll see that we denote this as B0. So on application of external magnetic field, what happens to magnetic moments? So what is the fate of magnetic moments when you apply B0? Okay, so let us look into that. So let's first see what happens if you apply magnetic field to a bar magnet. Okay, so simple bar magnet or compass needle. So let's say if you have a compass needle like this, okay, it is not pointing in any so let us say there is no magnetic field, so it will point in any random direction. But if you apply magnetic field, then, and this is the direction of the magnetic field, let's say it's in the z direction, then your compass needle would also point in z direction. Okay, that is the lower energy conformation for this. But magnetic moments are not compass needles, they also have the spin angular momentum going on, right? I mean, this does not have the overall needle does not have any spin angular momentum. The individual particles which it is composed of will have a spin angular momentum, but not the overall compass. So we are talking about the whole needle here. It does not have any spin angular momentum. whereas the individual magnetic moments, they are also having spin angular momentum. So let us see what is the effect of that. Okay. So the actual response of spin polarization or the magnetic moment is to move around the field. So let's say if you have a randomly aligned mu and you apply B0, which is vertical, that is in Z axis. So this particular mu starts to precess or rotate about the magnetic field. Okay, so let's draw it a little bigger so that the diagram is clear. Okay, so you have B0 and you have magnetic moment. So this is my mu, this is B0, and this starts to precess about B0 in a cone, right? So this is a cone, motion in a cone, and you have this will be called as theta, which is cone angle. Okay, all right. So this moves around the cone, keeping a constant angle between the spin magnetic moment and the field. This motion is called as precessional motion. The angle of the cone depends only on the initial spin polarization. So let's say if the initial spin polarization was perpendicular, so let's say if initial spin polarization was like this, then upon application of field, there is visibly no precessional motion, right? The spin is like this. If initial polarization, spin polarization is against the field, and if you have B0 now, so this is B0, this is mu, this is my B0, and it stays like that. There is no precessional motion essentially. But if it is to an angle, we saw that it will start moving. Now so let's also consider different cases. So you have B0 and you have mu. In this case it will start to precess. In this case the precessional motion is not clear because the angle is essentially this cone angle is 0 degree, so you can't observe any precession here, right? In this case the precession is observable. Now if the initial spin polarization is perpendicular or in transverse plane, then upon application of magnetic field it stays there, right? So it moves in a flat disk kind of thing like this. Okay, this is my precession. So idea is all sorts of random directions of magnetic moments are there, and or spin polarization axes are there, and when you apply magnetic field they keep that axis constant, that is the angle to the magnetic field remains constant, and they start to precess about B0. Now when we say precessional motion, we come to think of a child's top, spin top, which is a toy which you must have used, and I have made a little video of that. So let us see how does it work. So let's say here this is a top over here, and this is standing against gravity because there is a spin angular momentum to it, right? I mean, if this thing is not spinning, then it will not stand against the gravity and it will fall down, right? But the very fact that it has spin angular momentum, you can see that it is moving, and even if I try to perturb it, it goes back to its normal position because it has spin angular momentum which is trying to keep it upright, right? So this tries to keep its direction against gravity, and now you see that if I give a little more perturbation and the spin angular momentum weakens because of friction air friction or the friction due to floor coming in. So when the amount of spin angular momentum weakens as compared to gravity, then it starts to fall down towards gravity, and at that time you see that this motion is called as precessional motion. Right before it falls, you see this is called as precessional motion. This is how spins precess by virtue of their spin angular momentum about the magnetic field. Okay, so this is how it is precessing. Okay, so I hope this precessional motion is very clear now. So let us go back and look at it, why it is or what exactly is happening here. Okay, so now let's also see this precessional frequency is called as Larmor frequency. Larmor frequency, it is denoted by omega. So again later on we'll see that the quantum treatment of spin precession shows that the precessional frequency or omega is actually proportional to the magnetic field strength felt by the particle. So stronger the magnetic field which is felt by the particle, more is the frequency, higher is the frequency. So this goes by omega is equal to negative gamma, again gyromagnetic ratio, or omega naught we can say, B naught, okay, or B0. So this is Larmor frequency. This over here B0 is the magnetic field felt by the particle. So I'm using this term very carefully, that it is magnetic field felt by the particle, because not all particles, we will see that later when we'll discuss the concept of chemical shift, not all particles feel the exact same magnetic field which is applied. They feel slight differences, and that's why their Larmor precession frequency is also a little bit different, which results into chemical shift. We'll see that later. And this we already know, gamma is gyromagnetic ratio. We'll see more of this gyromagnetic ratio in next class. All right. Okay. So units of omega are radian per second, and you can also write in hertz. If you write in omega, the units are radian per second. If you write in omega upon 2 pi, you can write this in hertz. Okay, so if I'm writing only omega, I mean radian per second. If I'm writing omega by 2 pi, I can write in hertz. And this has a negative sign. So negative sign basically implies that clockwise sense of rotation if gamma is positive. So negative sign implies clockwise sense of rotation if gamma is positive, and this of course when you're looking from the top, because clockwise and anti-clockwise will change when, like, from which direction you're looking the precessional motion, right? Looking from the top. Okay, so nuclei, so that is obvious now, that nuclei with negative gamma will go anti-clockwise rotation, anti-clockwise sense of rotation. Okay, so now let us try to further understand the physical picture of spins in a magnetic field. So we have already discussed that. So let us again consider sample of water. Before we go on, let us consider sample of water, and there are proton spins in that, right? So again, the directions will be, the magnetic moment directions are all random, right? This is just to highlight, and the net magnetic moment is 0. Okay, now the moment you start, or you suddenly turn on the magnetic field, or you suddenly expose the sample to the magnetic field, I mean, it is not possible to suddenly turn on the field. So if you expose the magnet instantly to the magnetic field, so you say on application of magnetic field, what happens? So all the spins will start precessional motion. So I can draw it like this. So there is a precessional motion going on now. Right? So all of them start to behave in the same way. That is, the precession is going on. Right? So you got the idea. Okay. Around the magnetic field. So this is all if B0 is upside. Now because of precessional motion, whether there is a change, any change in net magnetic moment or not, that we have to see. So whether these magnetic moments are static in the absence of magnetic field, or they are undergoing a precessional motion in the presence of magnetic field, the net magnetic moment is still 0. Net magnetic moment of sample is still 0. So basically, precessional motion does not cause polarization of the sample, right? So then what causes? Because eventually what happens, there is a development of net magnetic moment. Now we are trying to understand why this net magnetic moment is starts to develop. Now another type of motion which is happening in the sample is thermal agitation of molecules. So thermal agitation of molecules leads to rotation and translation of molecules, right? There can be collisions, there can be rotations, there can be translational motions, anything with which is related to thermal agitation of molecules will keep on happening in this state, right? Now this thermal agitation of molecules also does not perturb the direction of the magnetic moments. Okay, so initial spin polarization axis is still not perturbed by rotation and translational motion or collisions. So think of a gyroscope compass which is used for navigation in during sea travels or in air travels, right? So in a gyroscopic compass, what happens? Even if the sea is rough, the ship is wobbling in water, but the gyroscopic compass maintains its position. So it is something like that. So even though the molecules are rotating and translating, the collisions are happening, but their gyroscopic compass, that is the magnetic moment of the nuclei inside, stays calm, so it does not change its position. So that means the net magnetic moment is still 0, right? So here also I would say the M, that is the net magnetic moment, is still 0. Okay. Now what happens then? How do we find out that how this longitudinal net magnetic moment is generating? Now upon closer look, if you look this thermal agitation more closely, then each molecule is full of magnetic particles, right? So let me go to a new page. So we'll say each molecule is full of magnetic particles. What are those magnetic particles? These are electrons, protons, and so on. They all have they are all sources of magnetic fields, right? Each individual atom has many sources of magnetic fields inside, right? Now these tiny magnetic fields fluctuate very rapidly because of thermal motion of environment. Okay, so I will say tiny magnetic fields due to magnetic particles fluctuate very rapidly. Due to thermal motions of the environment. Okay, so once this fluctuation is there, any given spin, so let's say if I am talking about one particular spin mu, so this is precessing about b0, right? Now this is not the only field, as we just discussed, that this is not the only field which is available. This is the externally applied magnetic field, but individual small particles also have their own fields, right, which is fluctuating in magnitude as well as in direction. Now because of that, this b0 direction and magnitude also is fluctuating. So we can draw it like this, that you have b0 vertical, and then there is a small fluctuation, small b0 going in this direction. Sorry for this bad drawing, let me draw it more carefully. Okay, so you have b0 which is vertical, slight b0 to an angle. So this shows that b0 is changing its direction. So this is highly exaggerated just to highlight. So b0 is changing its direction. Now because b0 is changing the direction, the mu which is precessing about b0 also change its direction, right? This will also change its direction because it has to precess about b0. Now because b0 is changing its direction, mu is also changing its direction. That means this initial spin polarization is slightly changing its direction now. So there is a cone angle theta which now changes. Now for each spin, this angle between magnetic field and the spin magnetic moment of each nuclear spin wanders around it moves between different precession cones and eventually samples the entire range of possible orientations. Okay, so over a period of time, the cone angle samples all possible orientations. See, the time scale of wandering is very different than time scale of precessional motion. So precessional motion is like if we are talking about in hertz, let's say if we are at 11 Tesla magnetic field or 11.7 Tesla magnetic field, we are talking about 500 hertz 500 megahertz of precessional frequency. So 500 megahertz means 500 into 500 million times spin is precessing per second, right? So this is typically happening uh, uh, at 11 Tesla. Now the wandering motion, the spin wandering motion is relatively slower than that. So when before a spin actually jumps from one cone angle to another cone angle, it has crossed several millions of, it has done several millions of precessions already. Okay, so now you can see that it is slightly more probable that the nuclear spin is driven towards an orientation with low magnetic energy than higher magnetic energy. That means, so orientations which are like this are more favorable than orientations which are against the field. So I'm not necessarily drawing it parallel and anti-parallel, but I'm just keeping it any random angle. But any orientation which is in the direction of the magnetic field has slightly more probability within this biased wandering motion than the orientation which is against the magnetic field. Okay, now because this happens because of thermodynamics, that this is low energy state and this is high energy state. So eventually there is a bias, slight bias of spin orientations with magnetic moments parallel to the field. That means if you define this state as, let us call this as alpha state and this as beta state, and now beta state we know as higher energy than alpha state. So there would be a net population difference. This bias of wandering motion creates a net population difference. That means P alpha minus P beta is greater than 0, however small that may be, but it is slightly positive. Okay, now this eventually leads to an isotropic distribution of nuclear spin polarization, and which creates the population difference, and this particular state is called as thermal equilibrium. So this whole thing does not happen instantly, okay, instantaneously. It takes time to do that. Now let's say mathematically we can draw it like this. So if you have B0, if you have magnetic field applied here, and this is the time axis, and let's say at any given instant, let's call it as t on time, you switch on the magnetic field, okay, and then you keep it on after that. So that's how you will show it, like a step function, right? Now at that instant, when you switch on the magnetic field, if you start to measure the Z magnetic moment of the sample, the Z magnetic moment will stay 0 here till this point when you switch on the magnetic field, and slowly the precessional motion will start instantly with all the spins, okay, but the spin wandering motion is relatively slower, as I said. So it starts to develop, the MZ magnetization starts to develop eventually, and then it saturates. Okay, now this state is called as thermal equilibrium that I just mentioned over here. And if you want to write it as an empirical equation, so you have mz, which is equal to m0, that is the equilibrium magnetization. And if you try to write down this as a function, this will be 1 minus exponential, this is like first order kinetics, so you can write it as exponential minus, sorry, this will be, bracket will be outside, so t minus t on, because it starts after t on, so any time, so this is t on over here and this is time, so t minus t on, and this will be negative divided by t1 So T is any given time point, M0 is the equilibrium magnetization, Mz is the uh, longitudinal magnetization or magnetization, net magnetic moment of the sample along the direction of the magnetic field at any given time, and T1 is called as longitudinal relaxation time. So this is basically the time required to achieve thermal equilibrium when you place the sample inside the magnetic field, and this is specific to a particular sample. So each sample has its own, each molecule has its own longitudinal relaxation time. This is the inherent property of the molecule, and uh, right, so that is all. Yeah. So this uneven distribution of spin magnetizations in the two state in thermal equilibrium means that the entire sample acquires a net magnetic moment along the field, and we can display it like this. If you have XYZ XYZ coordinate system, so you display the net magnetic moment now as a vector mz or m0 in the direction of the magnetic field. So let's say the b0 is applied in z-axis, so your m0 lies here. So this state is now this is not the individual magnetic moment, this is the overall sum of magnetic moments of all the individual spins. Okay, so this is the net magnetic moment of the sample, and this is created because of the mechanism which I just explained over here. And so as long as you have this magnetic field turned on, this thermal equilibrium state stays. The moment you turn off the field, let's call this as T off, so it stays like this up to T off, and the moment you turn off the field, eventually it dies down with the same exponential rate with T1 to 0. Okay, so again this time is also defined by the same time, longitudinal relaxation time. Okay, we will see that of lot of that in later classes. So I hope the physical picture is clear. So individual spin starts to precess in the presence of magnetic field, and then there are thermal motions which cause the individual which actually cause the magnetic fields coming because of the different particles to fluctuate, and hence the spins also start to fluctuate so their cone angles start to fluctuate, and eventually they sample all possible orientations, and that leads to development of net magnetic moment of the sample. So I hope this thing is clear now, and we'll discuss more of magnetic moment in next class. Till then, see you. Thank you.